Good morning. Good morning. We're going to get started. I understand that state law currently requires that the following announcement be made at the beginning of every remote council session. Due to the current public health crisis, City Council is currently meeting remotely. We are using Microsoft Teams to make this remote meeting possible. Instructions for how the public may view the meeting and offer public comment are included in the stated meeting notice that was published in the Daily News, the Enquirer, the Legal Intelligencer prior to the meeting, and can also be found on phlcouncil.com. I now note that the hour has come. The clerk will please call a roll to take attendance. Members that are in attendance will please indicate that they are present or whatever they may so choose. We want to make sure that your image will be displayed on the screen when you speak. Mr. Decker, can you please call a roll?
Councilwoman Bass.
Good morning, Council President, colleagues in the City of Philadelphia.
Good morning.
Councilwoman Brooks.
Good morning, Council President, colleagues, the City of Philadelphia. I'm so happy to be back and healthy again.
That's what I'm talking about. Good morning, Councilwoman.
Councilman Dom.
Morning, Council President and colleagues in Philadelphia.
Good morning.
Councilwoman Gauthier.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, Philadelphia. Present.
Good morning, Councilwoman.
Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, Philadelphia, and happy Earth Day.
All right. Good morning.
Councilman Green.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. Happy Earth Day. It's always good to be green in Philadelphia.
Oh, my goodness. That was a song. Thank you, Councilman. Good morning.
Councilwoman Kim.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. I'm present.
Good morning, Councilwoman.
Councilman Heenan.
Good morning, Council President, and good morning, colleagues.
Good morning, Councilman.
Councilman Jones.
Good morning, colleagues. One small step for a jury, one giant leap for justice. Present.
Good morning, Councilman.
Councilman O.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. I'm here.
Good morning, Councilman.
Councilman O'Neill.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Councilman.
Councilwoman Parker.
Good morning, Mr. President, colleagues, and our viewing public.
Good morning, Council Lady.
Councilwoman Kenrene Sanchez.
Good morning, colleagues. I am wearing green for Earth Day, not for the colleague, but it is cold outside, but it is sunny in here.
Good morning, Council Lady.
Councilman Squilla.
Good morning, Council President, colleagues, and Councilmember Sanchez. You took my green term out. I am also wearing green today for Earth Day, but I will represent our colleague too, Councilmember Green. So present.
Good morning, Councilman.
Councilman Thomas.
Good morning. Good morning, Council President. I'm having a little internet issues, so I'm going to apologize for that ahead of time. But I'm present. Happy Earth Day, and glad my colleague, Councilmember Brooks, is better.
Thank you. Good morning, Council.
Council President Clark.
And good morning. And today's a brown day for me, and brown, as in the earth, is where it all started. And good morning to all. We have established a quorum, and we'll now come to order. To give our invocation this morning, the chair recognizes Iman Idris Abdul Zahir of the Masjidullah. He is here today as the guest of Councilwoman Parker. I would ask all members and guests to please bow your heads for the invocation.
Let us pray. In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful, all praise is due to God, Lord of all the worlds, Lord of all that is in the heavens and in the earth. We turn to you for guidance. We turn to you for aid. We invoke your blessing on this assembly, on this day, in this holy month of Ramadan. We offer our thanks and gratitude for each member of this assembly, and we further offer our thanks and gratitude for the opportunity that we all have today to come together to work for the benefit of the citizens of this great city. We ask that you bless our efforts and help us to be present with one another, mindful of our purpose, true to the trust bestowed upon us, regardful in how we carry out our duties, and conscious of your ultimate judgment of all that we do. Lord, we ask for healing over our city, for justice to continue to prevail, for safety and security to be restored, and for prosperity and abundance for all who seek it. We know a great city is a compassionate city that cares for the most vulnerable amongst us. So, Lord, we especially pray for the salvation of our youth. Forgive us if we have been neglectful of them. Forgive us if we have set a bad example for them. And forgive us if we have failed them. Lead us all out of the depths of darkness into light, so that we all might choose peace over violence, love over hate, and hope over despair. For this we pray. Amen.
Chair thanks to Iman for his invocation. We really appreciate those spiritual guidance that you give. Thank you, officer. And our next order of business is the approval of the journal of the meeting of Thursday, April 15, 2021, and the chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the journal of the meeting of Thursday, April 15, 2021 be approved.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly second that the journal of the meeting of Thursday, April 15, 2021 stand approved. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, ayes have it, and our journal is approved. And our next order of business is request for leave of absence. And the chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the members of council, a leave of absence is requested for Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Leave shall be granted. Let the record reflect. And our next order of business is communication. And I will now ask the clerk to please read the messages from the mayor and any other communications that he may have in his possession.
From the mayor to the president and members of the council of the city of Philadelphia, I am transmitting for the consideration of your honorable body a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Land Bank deeds conveying title to certain properties located in the 1st Councilmanic District, and a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Land Bank deeds conveying title to certain properties located in the 5th Councilmanic District, and a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Land Bank deeds conveying title to certain properties located in the 5th Councilmanic District, and a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Land Bank deeds conveying title to certain properties located in the 8th Councilmanic District, and an ordinance authorizing the revision of lines and grades on a portion of City Plan number 152 by striking from the City Plan 67th Street from Upland Street to its terminus northwestwardly therefrom, and reserving and placing on the City Plan a right-of-way for public utility purposes within the lines of 67th Street being stricken, and an ordinance amending Section 12701 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Designation of Bicycle Lanes to authorize bicycle lanes on Race Street from North 5th Street to North 4th Street, and making associated changes to parking regulations within the same limits, and an ordinance amending Chapter 9-1000 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Trades to modify licensing and conduct requirements applicable to contractors, and an ordinance amending Title 4 of the Philadelphia Code entitled the Philadelphia Building Construction and Occupancy Code and Title 9 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Regulation of Businesses, Trades, and Professions to revise provisions relating to excavation work and work impacting historic structures, create an excavation contractor license, and institute additional safeguards for property adjoining certain construction activities, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Decker. And our next order of business is the introduction of bills and resolutions. And by way of a reminder, we are asking that all resolutions, including privileged resolutions, be placed on the final passage calendar for our next session of council, unless they are being referred to committee. In our current remote environment, this procedure will provide the appropriate opportunity for public comment. I would like to thank you very much for your anticipated cooperation. Mr. Decker, would you please read the titles of the legislation that is being offered today by the members?
Councilwoman Parker offers on behalf of Council President Clark one resolution entitled a resolution authorizing the creation of a special committee on city infrastructure projects under the American Jobs Plan to develop and recommend strategies for implementing, leveraging, and ensuring inclusion in city infrastructure projects funded under the American Jobs Plan.
Next week's calendar.
Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson offers one resolution entitled "A Resolution Honoring and Recognizing Philadelphia's Public Gardens."
Next week's calendar.
Councilwoman Gim offers on behalf of Council President Clark an ordinance officially naming and designating the dog park located on the north side of Winter Street between 21st Street and 22nd Street in the city of Philadelphia as the Rob Stewart Memorial Dog Park.
For the committee.
Councilman Heenan offers four resolutions entitled "A Resolution Honoring and Recognizing Sister Maureen McGarity for her commitment to the Sisters of the Holy Family of Nazareth, leadership to Holy Family University, and service to Philadelphia."
Next week's calendar.
And a resolution honoring the life and legacy of Sister Francesca Only and acknowledging her lifelong commitment to her faith, family, and Sisters of the Holy Family of Nazareth, Holy Family University, and Philadelphia.
Next week's calendar.
And a resolution congratulating the St. Hubert's cheerleading team for winning the 2021 PIAA Competitive Spirit State Championship.
Next week's calendar.
And a resolution recognizing Tariq Khan's incredible leadership and contributions to the health and well-being of Philadelphians and extending appreciation and admiration for his efforts to vaccinate Philadelphia residents against COVID-19.
Next week's calendar.
Councilman Jones offers one bill and one resolution entitled "An Ordinance Amending Title 14 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Zoning and Planning to revise certain provisions of Section 14504 entitled NCO Neighborhood Conservation Overlay District."
Councilman, did you want to be recognized after the...
After the resolution, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. That will be referred to committee.
And a resolution calling for the establishment of a Philly Youth Act to reduce gun violence and foster, coordinate, and promote peace treaties amongst our Philadelphia youths.
Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. During a committee hearing on gun violence chaired by Councilmember Johnson, one of the things that was brought up and that we talked about was the fact during the 70s when the House Umoja used to be a part of a anti-violence reduction effort, peace treaties between warring gangs were negotiated. Most recently, I was approached, and I won't mention the groups, to have such a negotiation. And I realized that only maybe the Schuler impact had done that in North Philadelphia, but for the most part, we have not been able to get around our table, get to the heart of some of the problems, get young men and women to commit to a period of peace that would possibly even be incentivized by some of the GVI incentives, whether it was access to jobs and other kind of incentives, to come up with a binding peace treaty for a period of time, like a summer or even a year. So what I'd like to do is get us to discuss how we could implement that with credible messengers, whether from religious institutions, mosques, churches, whatever, but to get credible messengers with some of the actors at a table to get young people to shake hands and agree not to kill each other. Novel concept that needs to be revisited. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman, for sure. That'll be next week's calendar.
Councilman Green offers three resolutions entitled "A Resolution Authorizing the Committee on People with Disabilities and Special Needs to hold hearings regarding the Community Autism Peer Specialist Program, also known as CAPS."
This week's calendar.
And a resolution calling upon the United States Congress to admit Washington District of Columbia as the 51st state in our union.
Next week's calendar.
And a resolution calling upon the General Assembly of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to reject Senate Bill 275, which would restrict municipalities from addressing climate change through legislating energy and heating infrastructure requirements.
Next week's calendar.
Councilwoman Brooks offers one resolution entitled "A Resolution Calling on the Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration to take action to prevent the transportation of liquefied natural gas through the city of Philadelphia, and further calling on the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission and/or the Army Corps of Engineers to perform an environmental impact statement of the proposed docking facility in Gibbstown, New Jersey.
Next week's calendar.
Councilman Squilla offers one bill entitled an ordinance amending Title 14 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Zoning and Planning by amending certain provisions of Chapter 14502 entitled CTR's Center City Overlay District to create the Mid-Walnut Street area.
For the committee.
Councilwoman Bass offers two bills and one resolution entitled an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Broad Street, Erie Avenue, Hunting Park Avenue, Wissahickon Avenue, Railroad Right-of-Way, Clarissa Street, Juniata Street, Germantown Avenue, Hunting Park Avenue, and Roosevelt Boulevard.
For the committee.
And an ordinance amending various chapters of the Philadelphia Code to address matters related to the availability of feminine hygiene products in city facilities and making certain technical changes.
For the committee.
And a resolution also naming the 2700 block of North 21st Street, Dr. Ayla Stanford Way, to recognize, honor, and celebrate the legacy of Dr. Ayla Stanford and her dedication to the people of Philadelphia.
Councilwoman, is you,
Yes.
seeing it? Yeah, okay. Councilwoman, you want to be recognized?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. President. Today, I introduced a bill that will require libraries, recreation centers, and district health centers to provide free feminine hygiene products to individuals using these facilities. This bill is a major step towards addressing period poverty, which in part refers to the inadequate access to menstrual products. Period poverty affects women across the globe, forcing them to resort to socks, stuffed animals, and other makeshift menstrual products. In the U.S., women struggling with having adequate menstrual hygiene because of a lack of access and a lack of income still exists. Students, low-income women, and homeless women and girls in particular face period poverty. The pink tax also adds to period poverty because the United States taxes period products as non-essential items. I don't see how that is happening. At the same time, men's grooming products and erectile dysfunction medication are not taxed. Food stamps also don't cover menstrual products. Feminine hygiene products are essential, and period poverty is a human rights issue. Period poverty is something we can fix, and we can fix it now. And I believe it starts here in Philadelphia with making these products available at these facilities. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilwoman. And the Ayla Stanford resolution will be next week's calendar.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilman O offers three resolutions entitled a resolution recognizing April 30th as Vietnamese Heritage and Freedom Flag Day as a symbol of the contributions of the Vietnamese American community in the city of Philadelphia.
Next week's calendar.
And a resolution honoring historian and educator Kerry L. Bryan on the occasion of her 70th birthday.
Next week's calendar.
And a resolution proclaiming the week of May 7, 2021 to May 15, 2021 as the 11th annual Philly Tech Week presented by Comcast and honoring the broad and vibrant Philadelphia technology community.
Next week's calendar.
There are no other bills or resolutions being offered by the members today, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Decker. Our next order of business will be reports from committee, and the chair recognizes Councilman Squilla for a report from the Committee on Rules.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee on Rules reports out 6 bills with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. Can you please read that report?
To the President and members of the Council of the City of Philadelphia, the Committee on Rules, to which is referred Bill Number 200348, entitled, an ordinance amending Title 14 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Zoning and Planning, to amend certain provisions of Chapter 14500, entitled Overlay Zoning Districts, by creating the WCS West Chestnut Street Overlay District. And Bill Number 210159, entitled an ordinance amending Title 14 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Zoning and Planning, to revise certain provisions of Chapter 14600, entitled Use Regulations, by amending the retail sales use category and use-specific standards. And Bill Number 210207, entitled an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Cotman Avenue, the Montgomery County line, the Bucks County line, Interstate 95, Grant Avenue, and Roosevelt Boulevard. And Bill number 210228, entitled an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Spruce Street, 5th Street, South Street, and 8th Street. And Bill number 210246, entitled an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain portions of the land located within an area bounded by Delaware Expressway, Richmond Street, Lewis Street, Delaware Avenue, and Castor Avenue. And Bill number 210247, entitled an ordinance amending the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by 63rd Street, Lansdowne Avenue, Felton Street, Addington Lane, Edgewood Street, Lansdowne Avenue, 54th Street, Girard Avenue, 59th Street, and Callahill Street. Respectfully reports it has considered the same and returns the attached bills to council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Chair again recognizes Councilman Swiller.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules of council be suspended and permit the first reading this day of bill numbers 210348, 210159, 210207, 210228, and 210246 and 210247.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and probably second that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of bills number 210348, 210159, 210207, 210228, 2136, and 210247. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
And these bills will be placed on our reading calendar today. The chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker for a report from government.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee on Government reports out 2 bills and 1 resolution with recommendation.
Thank you. Mr. Decker, please read our report.
The Committee on Law and Government, to which was referred Bill number 210206, entitled an ordinance providing for the submission to the qualified electors of the City of Philadelphia of an amendment to Article 8, Chapter 5 of the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter, entitled Referenda Approved by the Voters, by adding a new section providing that the citizens of Philadelphia call upon the Pennsylvania General Assembly and the Governor to pass legislation that will decriminalize, regulate, and tax the use and sale to adults aged 21 years or older of cannabis for non-medical purposes. And Bill number 210249, entitled an ordinance amending various chapters of the Philadelphia Code to amend the definitions of certain terms and provide protections for persons affected by coercive control, including in the context of employment discrimination, employment leave, and housing protections. And resolution number 210215, entitled a resolution submitting to the electors of the city an amendment to the Article 8, Chapter 5 of the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter, entitled Referenda Approved by the Voters, by adding a new section providing that the citizens of Philadelphia call upon the Pennsylvania General Assembly and the Governor to pass legislation that will decriminalize, regulate, and tax the use and sale to adults aged 21 or older of cannabis for non-medical purposes. Respectfully reports it has considered the same and returns the attached bills and resolution to council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Chair again recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of bill numbers 210206 and 210249.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and probably second that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of bills number 210206 and 210249. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Ayes have it, and these bills will be placed on our first reading calendar for today. Resolution number 210215 will be placed on our final passage calendar at our next session of council. That concludes our reports on committee, and our next order of business is the consideration of the calendar. I note that the bills just reported from committee with the suspension of the rules have been deemed to have had a first reading. These bills will be placed on our second reading and final passage calendar at our next session of council. As there are no additional bills on the first reading calendar, the chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker for the purpose of calling up resolutions and bills on the final passage calendar today.
Thank you, Mr. President. The following resolutions and bills are being called up from the second reading and final passage calendars today. They are numbers 210337, 210339, 210340, 210341, 210342, 210343, 210345, 210346, 210347, 210348, 210135-A, 200625, and 210226. All other resolutions and bills are being held, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilwoman. We will now move to our public comment session. But before we proceed with the consideration of the public comment, we'll take a brief 5 to 10 minute recess to give our technology professionals some time to connect the speakers that we have for today. We'll take a brief break. Thank you, and good morning again. We will now proceed with our public comment, And now that everyone is connected to the meeting, and before considering resolutions and bills before us today, our public comment will go as follows. Public comment must concern matters on the second reading and final passage calendar for possible action at a session of council. A speaker on any of those matters must sign up in order to testify. You must call 215-686-3406 by 3 p.m. the day before the session to sign up for public comment. When you call, we will take your name, your phone number, the number of the legislative item you are commenting on, and whether you are in support of or against the legislation, and add you to the list. We will telephone each person on the list during the council session and invite them to our remote meeting. Under ideal circumstances, and I think today we're going to actually have 3 minutes to speak. However, from time to time, you must note that the time limit may vary based on the volume of individuals. In order to be fair, all those wishing to speak, I intend to hold faithfully to the established time limit. Once invited to the meeting and asked to begin your testimony, a timer will be started. We will monitor your remaining time throughout your testimony, and when there are 30 seconds remaining your time, you will be reminded of this. Once your allotted time has passed, you will be asked to conclude your remarks, and shortly thereafter, you will be muted and disconnected from the remote meeting. I also reserve the right to limit the number of speakers where repetitious comments are being made on the same matter, and to limit the scope of testimony to only certain items on the agenda during the emergency, which could affect callbacks for public comment at a meeting. Please be aware that this public meeting is being recorded, and because the meeting is public, participants and viewers have no reasonable expectation of privacy. So by continuing to be in the meeting, you are consenting to being recorded. I will now ask the Chief Clerk to please read the name of our first speaker.
The first speaker is Jackson Kuziak, commenting on 210342.
Good morning. Please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Good morning. My name is Jackson Kuziak, and I'm speaking today in support of resolution number 210342, honoring the Solar Savings Grant Program. I am an employee of Solar States, a Philadelphia-based solar installation and training company, and we have been a partner with the Philadelphia Energy Authority on the Solar Savings Grant Program for the last 4 years as we help develop the program and eventually implement it. It has been a rewarding process to participate in this program, which is making solar more affordable through a grant to individuals in eligible low and moderate income households. I think affordability is so important when it comes to the clean energy transition, because for many Philadelphians, solar is still out of reach because of the high cost and the challenges with acquiring capital and loans. With the Solar Savings Grant Program, the cost of solar is reduced dramatically. What we see is when we change the economics of clean energy, we can also change the demographics and the neighborhood geographics of where solar is being deployed. We've seen through this program, we've been able to provide solar for people of all ages, ethnicities, backgrounds, and it's been a real joy to be a part of this program. Over 50 participants have been able to get solar through this program, and we've already installed several of them. We're excited to continue this effort along with the Philadelphia Energy Authority to increase access to solar and to make sure that solar development continues along the lines of climate justice and environmental justice, keeping in mind that the communities that are most burdened with toxins and environmental threats are often the last to receive the services and the benefits of the clean energy transition. At Solar States, our mission is solar for all, and we want to see that not only in the deployment of solar into the community, but also in the training of eligible individuals to learn to become solar installers and to enter the green economy. This is a big part of our mission as a local Philadelphia-based solar installer, and we hope to continue to partner with City Council on great innovative programs like the Solar Savings Grant Program, so we can continue to provide solar at an affordable and accessible rate for people across the city of Philadelphia. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for your testimony. We appreciate it.
The next speaker is Jeanette Steffens, commenting on 210337.
Good morning. State your name for the record and please proceed with your testimony.
Giving honor to God and this assembly of councilwomen and men, I thank you for this honor to speak for my husband, Frank Stevens, and his accomplishment. Frank was a very humble person. He enjoyed his 38 years with the Free Library of Philadelphia. During this time, he exhibited many well-known artists and writers. They included Marian Anderson and Maurice Sendak. Marian Miss Anderson, he visited her home. He eventually did a portrait of her that looks like she just stepped right out of the portrait. And Maurice Sendak, who did Where the Wild Things Are, he autographed the book and wrote a little character in there to French. He had a wonderful career with the library. We were so proud of him. He was a deacon at Zion Baptist Church, where many years Reverend Sullivan and Mrs. Sullivan was head of the church. And when Mrs. Sullivan started the university, he did all of her publishing work for her and helped her get her university on ground and starting. He also visited the White House while he was at the library in his job. He loved his family, and it was wonderful. I guess his parents moved to Philadelphia because the opportunity, as the years went by, that he went to the Free Library of Philadelphia and had a wonderful career, and his relationship with his staff was tremendous. And even before he passed, he was retired, he kept up with his staff. He also enjoyed doing his artwork at home. The home is filled with his artwork. And he had a major exhibit with Villanova and many other major institutions. Frank was during his 89 years of life. He accomplished a lot. And we are so very proud of his accomplishment. And we are just so happy that you have given us this honor to speak with him, and we thank you for your resolution, and may God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Stevens, just for the record, just state your name, please.
My name is Jeanette Stevens, Frank Stevens' wife.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We appreciate your testimony.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Cindy Griffin, commenting on 210348.
Good morning. I'll just state your name for the record and please proceed with your testimony.
Good morning. My name is Cindy Griffin and I'm speaking in favor of Resolution 210348. I want to thank Councilwoman Bass for raising awareness about the need for additional efforts towards gender equity in sports and putting forth Resolution 210348. The discrepancies that we saw in the NCAA men's and women's basketball tournaments this spring were certainly alarming. Unfortunately, the discrepancies were, in many ways, a symptom of a much bigger problem in sports. First, while we saw the visible inequalities in weight rooms for athletes and swag bags at the men's tournament versus the women's basketball tournament, the issues in basketball run much deeper. For example, media contracts and the difference in value, the NCAA governance structure, the branding of the events. For example, women do not use March Madness. And then attendance. Women's tournaments are in NBA arenas versus the men's tournaments, which are often in domes. And then there's the case of the men's basketball unit, which is distributed throughout the conferences. And there's no units for women's basketball. Without these units, it leaves incentives for women's basketball to have more success in this area. Can the structure be changed over time? And second, while the tournament inequities appropriately led people to point the finger at the NCAA, gender equity issues are not unique to the NCAA. For example, if you're looking at pro and national teams, the WNBA rookie salary coming out is $57,000, as opposed to an NBA rookie salary, which starts at $3.4 million with a guaranteed 3-year contract. And then there's the U.S. women's national soccer team. versus the men's national team. Megan Rapinoe, who is a advocate for equal pay, said men are often compensated on the potential that they show, not necessarily what they have done. And women are so often paid on what they have actually done, which normally they outperform their contract. Maybe more importantly, the media, and the same media to blame the NCAA, can often go a day without mentioning women's sports in their outlets, ESPN and newspapers. And last, coaching is another disparity, which may be one of the most notable forms of sex discrimination in employment, where women have almost a 0% chance of coaching men, but men have a 50% or greater chance of coaching women. There's a tremendous amount of work to be done, but it needs to start with the acknowledging the issues. On behalf of myself and St. Joseph's University, we thank you for starting the conversation here in Philadelphia.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your testimony. We appreciate it.
The next speaker is Jenny Greenberg, commenting on 210-339.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is Jenny Greenberg. I'm the executive director of the Neighborhood Gardens Trust, Philadelphia's land trust for the protection of community-managed open spaces. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak today and extend my special thanks to council members Catherine Gilmore Richardson, Jamie Gaudier, and Mark Squilla for co-sponsoring the Earth Day resolution recognizing two of the amazing community gardens that NGT has the honor of working with, the Holly Street Neighbors Community Garden and Growing Home Gardens. The hard work, vision, and perseverance of the hundreds of community residents who cultivate and steward these spaces truly deserves our profound respect and celebration. Community gardens serve an essential function in our city. They've been shown to support mental and physical health and to reduce neighborhood violence. They provide opportunities for residents to grow healthy, affordable food and to spend time de-stressing in nature. They reduce urban heat, and they're a vehicle for community building and for self-determination. This most challenging past year has reinforced more than ever how vital these spaces are and that we can't afford to lose any more of them to development. Just this week, I learned of another West Philadelphia garden that was lost at Sheriff's Sale, which is heartbreaking. We need to continue to work together to make the future of these shared growing spaces a priority. A well-funded and high-capacity prioritizes open space, as well as resolving the city's situation with U.S. bank liens, is critical. Next, you're going to hear from Elizabeth Waring about how this issue is playing out at the Holly Street Neighbors Garden, which is in serious jeopardy with 3 privately owned parcels of land. The Growing Home Garden, which is also being honored today, serves over 100 refugee families and was almost lost on multiple occasions when developers acquired parcels and threatened to build houses on the garden. Through 5 years of incredible partnership between Councilman Squilla and GT, CMAC, and the city's landholding agencies, we were able to secure and preserve all of the land, and now it's permanently protected open space where stewards can plant their spring seedlings with peace of mind, knowing they will not lose access to the land. In closing, thank you for recognizing the value of community gardens on Earth Day, and we look forward to working with you all year long to ensure these precious spaces like Holly Street Neighbors Garden and Growing Home and so many others can be saved to shape a sustainable, equitable, and livable future for all Philadelphians.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your testimony. We appreciate it.
The next speaker is Elizabeth Waring, commenting on 210339.
Good morning. Just state your name for the record. Please proceed with your testimony.
Good morning. My name is Elizabeth Waring, and I've been managing the Holly Street Garden. I'm in support of the resolution for the garden to be a living memorial to Winnie Harris, who with neighbors, friends, and other gardeners started the garden in 2005, and her mission was to build community around greening, education, and gardening. At Winnie's homegoing service in 2017, Councilwoman Janie Blackwell promised the preservation of the Holly Street Neighbors Community Garden into the Neighborhood Garden Trust. Since then, we have been maintaining the garden, growing, and many upkeeps of the garden. To date, as far as I know, there are 2 parcels that are still in limbo to developers to get it into the Philadelphia land swap. And about 3 years ago, one of the developers vandalized the garden. So I'm hoping that the land bank can expedite the land swap with the developers very soon, and also for the city to satisfy the lien to secure the garden. And we also are anti-gun violence. So I'm praying, and we're all praying for a renewed mindset to love ourselves and each other. So with that, in closing, I'd like to thank you, Councilwoman Skrilla and Gardner. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. We appreciate it.
The next speaker is Chris Spar, commenting on 210342.
Good morning. State your name for the record, and please proceed with your testimony.
My name is Chris Spar. Good morning, Council President Clark and Philadelphia City Council members. Happy Earth Day. And thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of Resolution 210342, honoring the Philadelphia Energy Authority's Solar Savings Grant Program. I'm the Executive Director of the Centennial Parkside Community Development Corporation, located in the East Parkside neighborhood of West Philadelphia. The Centennial Parkside CDC is a partner on the Solar Savings Grant Program, as we raised $220,000 to finance this project through donations from the William Penn Foundation and Spark Therapeutics with the help of tax credits from the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development. We did this because we believe that low-income communities like our neighborhood in East Parkside should be on the forefront of battling climate change. Yet, environmental innovations that can support this effort are often out of reach of these communities due to the high cost of implementation. We believe that programs such as the Philadelphia Energy Authority's Solar Savings Grant Program provides the opportunity for low-income families to be at the forefront of the battle for climate change and helps in providing valuable cost savings to families that struggle with energy insecurity. This program also supports jobs in the solar energy sector, as we heard from Solar States earlier, as well as provides economic development opportunities for low-income communities like ours. We look forward to continuing to support Philadelphia's low-income population by continuing to be a partner on this program, and I am grateful to Councilmember Gilmore Richardson for introducing this resolution. This is the conclusion of my testimony, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to take them at this time. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. We appreciate it.
The next speaker is Tyrone Jackson, commenting on 210342.
Good morning. I'll state your name for the record, and please proceed with your testimony.
Good morning. My name is Tyrone Jackson. I'm in support of Resolution 210342. And as mentioned earlier, I'm one of the low-income individuals who was able to benefit from Solar States as a person who lives in West Philadelphia and is a person who is in a community that is relatively low income. It's really important to make sure that Solar States is able to service these communities, because at the lowest end of the spectrum, it's really important for wide adoption to make sure that we can actually turn around some of the things that are damaging our planet environmentally and for climate change, just to make sure that, again, at that level, we can make sure that people are being serviced. I'm able to see in my community that by going green, they're able to uplift each other with jobs, insight, and access, as those are important for growth in Philadelphia and for the future of Philadelphia. So I hope that's done.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your testimony. We appreciate it.
The next speaker is Mahesh Ilyas, commenting on 210342.
Good morning. I'll state your name for the record and please proceed with your testimony.
Good morning, Honorable Council members. I'm Mavish Elias with the Philadelphia Energy Authority. I'm speaking to support the resolution honoring the Solar Savings Grant Program, resolution number 210342. The Philadelphia Energy Authority, also known as PEA, is an independent municipal authority created in 2010 to advance energy affordability and sustainability for Philadelphia. PEA has facilitated over $167 million in clean energy projects since launching the Philadelphia Energy Campaign in 2016, creating more than 1,700 jobs. I'm really excited to be joining the City Council today to celebrate Earth Day and to announce the outcomes of our Solar Savings Grant Program. PEA's Solar Savings Grant Program is the city's first solar program for low and moderate income households. The program offers rooftop solar installations at no upfront cost through a blend of subsidy and low-cost financing. We designed this program to address barriers preventing low and moderate income households to go solar, knowing that these households would benefit the most from electric bill savings and local job creation. LMI households and people of color often lack access to affordable energy provided by rooftop solar. Through the pilot phase of the program, PEA facilitated 50 low and moderate income households to go solar from across 26 city zip codes with household incomes less than 80% of the area median income. The program delivers bill savings starting in year one. I'd really like to thank our program partners who made this initiative possible, including the Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency, Solar States, Centennial Parkside Community Development Corporation, the William Penn Foundation, Spark Therapeutics, and the National Energy Improvement Fund. Thank you so much, Councilwoman Catherine Gilmore Richardson, for introducing the resolution to celebrate the city's first LMI solar initiative. The Philadelphia Energy Authority is committed to supporting Philadelphia to transition to clean energy at the pace required by climate crisis in a way that benefits are shared equitably in the city's low and moderate income communities. Our goal is to support 10,000 LMI households to go solar by 2026. I wanted to mention that the Solar Savings Grant Program is a part of Solarize Philly, the largest initiative of its kind in the country. Since the launch of the program in 2017, over 750 homes have gone solar. We will be reopening Solarize Philly for its fifth phase soon with offering for LMI households, so I look forward to collaborating with the City Council to spread the word about the program. Thank you so much and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for your testimony. We appreciate it.
There are no other speakers, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Decker. That concludes our public comment session. We will now consider the bills and resolutions on the second reading and final passage calendar. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 210337.
A resolution honoring the life and legacy of Frank L. Stevens, Jr., and recognizing his work at the Free Library of Philadelphia and his dedication to elevating Black art and stories.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Been moved and probably second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 210339.
A resolution honoring and recognizing community garden leaders for their stewardship and service on the occasion of Earth Day 2021.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank all of those who provided public comment in support of this resolution, and I move the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly seconded. The resolution be adopted. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 210340.
A resolution calling on the City of Philadelphia Office of Fleet Management to develop and execute a request for proposals for additional electric vehicles and charging station infrastructure for such vehicles in the City of Philadelphia's fleet.
Thank you. The chair again recognizes Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly seconded. The resolution be adopted. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Ayes have it. And our resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 210-341.
A resolution recognizing April 22, 2021 as Earth Day in the city of Philadelphia.
Chair, one more time, recognizes Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. On the occasion of Earth Day, I move the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly second that the resolution be adopted. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Ayes have it. And that resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 210-342.
A resolution honoring and thanking the Philadelphia Energy Authority for its solar savings grant program.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. And I quickly wanted to take this time to thank you for your foresight and insight in establishing PEA, to Emily and their entire team for their steadfast hard work on the Solar Savings Grant Program. And with that, Mr. President, I move the adoption of the resolution.
You've been working, Councilwoman. I second it.
Thank you very much, Councilwoman. It's been moved and properly second that the resolution be adopted. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 210-343.
A resolution honoring the life and legacy of Donald McRogan and recognizing his lifelong dedication to family, friends, and advancing the labor movement of Philadelphia.
Chair recognizes Councilman Heenan for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and second that the resolution be adopted. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 210-345.
A resolution standing in solidarity with the residents of St. Vincent and the Grenadines in the midst of repeated eruptions of La Soufriere volcano, and encouraging Philadelphians to offer their support in whatever ways they can.
And the chair recognizes Councilwoman Gauthier for a motion.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and second that the resolution be adopted. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 210-346.
A resolution honoring and congratulating Imhotep Charter Boys Basketball Team on their successful 2020-2021 season and overall undefeated record in the Philadelphia Public League Boys Basketball Championships.
And chair recognizes Councilman Thomas for a motion.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and second that the resolution be adopted. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. And the resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, 210-347.
A resolution recognizing and honoring 1 million Black women, an initiative launched by Goldman Sachs, Black women-led organizations, and other partners, which will commit $10 billion in direct investment capital and $100 million in philanthropic support to address gender and racial biases Black women have faced for generations.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am so proud to move for the adoption of this resolution.
Second.
It's been moved and proudly seconded that the resolution be adopted. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it, and that resolution is proudly adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 210-348.
A resolution calling on the National Collegiate Athletic Association to reevaluate its policies and practices related to gender equity and to implement steps to close gender gaps in all sports and divisions.
And the chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I look forward to having additional conversation. I know this council body is ready as we support and call for the adoption of this resolution.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded as a part of sports talk this morning. All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it, and our resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of Bill number 210-135A.
An ordinance amending Chapter 9208 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Sidewalk Cafes and Title 4, Subcode A of the Philadelphia Code entitled Zoning and Use Registration Permits by adding new provisions allowing restaurants applying for a sidewalk cafe permit or temporary lot uses permit to allow outdoor entertainment.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson for an amendment to Bill number 210-135A.
Thank you, Mr. President. And before I offer that amendment, I wanted to briefly thank you. Thank Councilmember Bass, Councilmembers Johnson, my co-sponsors, Councilmembers Heenan and Dom, and Councilmember Squilla for their wise counsel throughout this process. It's often said by members of Congress who love to repeat this quote that's been attributed to Otto von Bismarck: if you like laws and sausages, you should never watch either one of them being made. So in other words, the legislative process, though messy and sometimes unappetizing, can produce healthy, wholesome results. And in that vein, I will offer amendments today to the outdoor entertainment bill after much conversation, dialogue, and communication with our colleagues. The amendments will give the Streets Department the ability to change certain provisions of the legislation through regulation if there are concerns with health or public safety. The First Amendment will allow the Streets Department to extend the notification requirement for significant geographic areas of the city. The bill requires that a business provide a minimum of 72-hour notice to the city before a performance. If it becomes clear that a certain community needs to be notified earlier in order to better prepare for performances, streets will have the authority to extend the minimum notification requirement for that area through regulation. The Second Amendment will allow the Streets Department to restrict by regulation the number of hours during which a performance can take place. For example, if a certain area is highly residential and performances that go until 10 p.m. would create issues with health or public safety, streets will be able to say that performances in that area must end by an earlier time. Importantly, businesses must still adhere to all other sections in the Philadelphia Code, ensuring that enforcement for noise violations, community disruption, or unsafe environments will be shut down. So I just wanted to thank you so much for all of your work and collaboration. And with that, Mr. President, I move for the adoption of the amendment for Bill number 210-135A, and a copy of the amendment has been circulated to all members of council.
Second, she moves for the adoption of the amendment. Thank you, Council Lady.
Thank you. All in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. Bill number 210-135A has been amended. Bill number 210-135A, as amended, will be placed on our final passage calendar at our next session of council. Mr. Decker, please read the title of Bill number 200-625.
An ordinance amending Title 9 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Regulation of Businesses, Trades, and Professions by adding a new chapter 94700 to prohibit employers from requiring prospective employees to undergo testing for the presence of marijuana as a condition of employment.
This bill had been read on 2 different days. The question now, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass.
Aye.
Councilwoman Brooks.
Aye.
Councilman Dom.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gautier.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson.
Aye.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gim.
Aye.
Councilman Heenan.
Aye.
Councilman Jones.
Aye.
Councilman O.
Nay.
Councilman O'Neill.
Aye.
Councilwoman Parker.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quinones Sanchez.
Aye.
Councilman Squilla.
Aye.
Councilman Thomas.
Aye.
Council President Clark.
Aye, the ayes are 15 and nays are 1. The majority of all members having voted in affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, please read the title of Bill number 210-226.
An ordinance authorizing transfers and appropriations for fiscal year 2021 from the general fund, the council, to the general fund, certain Royal City offices, departments, boards, and commissions, for the purpose of further implementing council's new normal jobs initiative and adjusting council's internal appropriations.
Thank you. This bill has been read on two different days. The question now is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass.
Aye.
Councilwoman Brooks.
Councilwoman Brooks. Come back.
Councilman Dom.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gauthier.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson.
Aye.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gim.
Aye.
Councilman Heenan.
Aye.
Councilman Jones.
Councilman Jones.
Councilman O.
Aye.
Councilman O'Neill.
Aye.
Councilwoman Parker.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quinones Sanchez.
Aye.
Councilman Squilla.
Aye.
Councilman Thomas.
Aye.
Council President Clark.
Aye, the ayes are 14, nays are 0. Majority of all members having voted in affirmative, the bill passes.
Mr. President,
Yeah.
I was having technical difficulties.
Okay.
I wish to be recorded as aye.
Okay. The ayes were 15. And we're still awaiting.
Council President, this is Councilmember Brooks. I was also having technical difficulties. I want to be recorded as aye.
Thank you, Councilman. Let the record reflect that the ayes are 16, nays are 0. Okay, Mr. Decker, you have any additional resolutions for today?
A resolution authorizing the Committee on People with Disabilities and Special Needs to hold hearings regarding the Community Autism Peer Specialist Program, also known as CAPS, introduced by Councilman Green.
Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
There are no other resolutions on the final passage calendar, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Decker. That completes our calendar for today. Prior to recognizing members regarding speeches, I will note for the record, at this time we will use the chat feature available on Microsoft's team to allow members to signify that they wish to be recognized. In order to comply with the Sunshine Act, the chat feature must only be used for this particular purpose. With that said, the speeches on behalf of the minority. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Brooks.
Thank you so much, Council President. I want to first thank my colleagues and the public for the outpouring of love and support that I have received as I recovered from COVID. And I'm feeling so much better now, and I'm so happy to be back at work. I also want to now acknowledge my colleague, Council Member Gilmore Richardson, for introducing the resolution in honor of Earth Day and for her ongoing work to fight environmental justice here in Philadelphia. It is in the spirit of Earth Day that she and I are introducing a resolution today calling on the Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration not to extend a special permit for the transportation of liquefied natural gas through Philadelphia. Liquefied natural gas is known as LNG, is a hazardous substance which is highly flammable and has the potential of dangerous explosions. The planned route of transport of LNG between Wyalusing Township, PA, and Gibson, New Jersey would cut through the city of Philadelphia along both the Schuylkill and Delaware rivers. This route would endanger not only our natural environment, but the homes, daycare centers, schools, hospitals, businesses, and communities along the train route, and likely rail routes traveling through these communities with proportionally more people of color and in low income populations, communities which time and time again bear the burden of environmental racism. The permit does not provide adequate safety protections for the communities through which the rail cars will travel. Furthermore, LNG transport and export incentivizes fracking, which poses direct and imminent threat to the human health and the climate. This Earth Day, it is important that we evaluate the environmental dangers we are exposing our communities to and ask ourselves, how are we making our city livable, not just for this generation, but for generations to come? So I want to thank Councilmember Gilmore Richardson for introducing this resolution with me. And I also want to thank my colleagues, council members, Gil, Thomas, and Bass for co-sponsoring this resolution. Thank you so much, Council President.
Thank you, Councilwoman, and welcome back. Really happy that you're feeling much better. Speeches on behalf of the majority. Council Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to rise to recognize a young lady, a teenager by the name of Danielle Frazier. She was the young lady that had the courage to hold up a cell phone, which documented the tragedy that was memorialized around the world, and really changed the course of American justice. And thanks to her courage, we were able to see up close and personal what injustice looks like. But what we took away from that whole trial and travesty was a couple of words. One was accountability. Accountability means that everybody, every entity, whether you're talking about doctors who have to go before the medical boards, whether you talk about lawyers who have to deal with the Bar Association, whether you talk about football players who have to deal with Roger Goodell, no one is above the law. No one should be below the law. And that's what we took away with that word. The other one is proportionality. Proportionality means that the crime and punishment should be proportional. That in Les Miserables, no one should go to jail for life for stealing a loaf of bread, and no one should die for passing a $20 counterfeit bill to get cigarettes. Proportionality means that the punishment should fit the crime. The third word that we learned was forgiveness, because that jury sentenced a man, former police officer, to probably a lengthy prison sentence. What we as a nation have to do is learn and begin the process of healing, because from the president to our mayor to our police commissioner, all of them saw this lesson and hopefully will learn from this lesson and take these lessons so that even major portions of society, such as criminal justice, such as police departments, can learn from things and then forgive both and begin the healing process for our nation and our city. I know, you know, members in this body know how close we came to the edge. It was scary that had that trial ended a different way, we would be right now trying to deal with some of the uprising and some of the consequences based on that decision. So we should take this opportunity to heal as a nation, to forgive, but never forget, and begin to take those lessons to the next step. And that accountability word also can be used in the Citizens Police Oversight Committee, which I hope that this body will begin the hearings and begin the process of evaluation so that we can take what we've learned and apply it to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President, and thank you, Councilmember Jones, for your words in reference to what has been such a impactful and pivotal week in reference to equity and reform. I just want to remind my colleagues that next Thursday, April 29th, from 9:15 to 10 a.m., we'll be having a training regarding helping people with autism and neurodiversity, specifically focusing on constituent services. We'll have Dr. Wendy Ross, who's the director of the Jefferson Center for Autism and Neurodiversity, and as well as Sabre Townsend, who is the director of operations for that center, as well as Assistant Professor Jane Tobias, who will be on the Zoom link, for offices within City Hall to be able to have a better understanding of how to provide constituent services to those who are neurodiverse and on the autism spectrum. I know my office sent out an email to all members of council and their staff. We'll send out a reminder, and if there are other offices within City Hall that would like to participate in this conversation, this training, please feel free to reach out to my office. This is another way of continuing the conversation and dialogue as we come to the soon close of April and the end of Autism Acceptance and Awareness Month. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Barker.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I want to start by thanking Councilmember Johnson, whose work regarding gun violence I learned about long before he ever got elected to public office, when he had a tragic loss within his own family. He founded the organization called Peace Not Guns. To our whip, Councilman Curtis Jones, whose life experience, along with his leadership and partnership with the House of Umoja, yourself, Councilwoman Gautier, a newer member of our body, who has made this issue one of the hallmarks of her advocacy, and quite frankly, Mr. President, all members of our body, because I believe our collective work is what will help to move our city in the right direction as we focus on eradicating gun violence in our city. With that being said, I want to follow up on Councilman Jones's comments in noting that those responsible for the death of George Floyd being held accountable in our criminal justice system is just the floor. We in no way, shape, or form, while we were excited because, as Councilmember Jones stated, we know what would have happened if, in fact, the verdict would have gone another way. But we were, many of us, pleased to see that our criminal justice system brought some much-needed balance to the scales of justice. But I would argue, Mr. President, that until we focus on the economic violence and the economic exclusion of Black and brown people in our local, regional, state, and national economies, we won't ever see a level playing ground that will put people on the path to self-sufficiency in their own right. So I just want to say to each and every one of our colleagues that I look forward to working with each of you as it relates to creating economic opportunities like those presented in the plan that we introduced here in council. Next, Mr. President, I wanted to say a special thank you to Council Member Bass for the legislation that she introduced, calling for feminine hygiene products to be available in libraries and other public health facilities. Many of you will remember that it was about 2 years ago that we in this body introduced a citation resolution working in conjunction with the Women's Commission honoring the mother-daughter duo, Lynette Medley and her daughter Naya, who with their own resources, grit, and sheer determination defined what the issue of period poverty meant here in our city. So I consider them to be the mother and sister of the issue of period poverty, particularly after them having opened up a hub, which is also located in Council Member Bass's district, first menstrual hub in the nation. Now, I just want to put on the record that they have had folks reach out to them from Germany, from Brazil, from places all throughout Europe and across the world, asking how can they be supportive and how can they come and help them open up a menstrual hub. I don't know that we can see that kind of innovation happen with the health disparities, particularly amongst Black women that have been laid bare as a result of COVID, and the city of Philadelphia not have a formal funding relationship with them via the health department. And so I look forward to working with Councilmember Bass and all members of this body to ensure that that becomes a major focal point via the health department's budget during our budget process. And finally, I just want to encourage all members of the viewing public to join us today at 1 p.m. For a law and government hearing on virtual sheriff sales in the city of Philadelphia. Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, colleagues, for your patience.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, colleagues, and good afternoon, Philadelphia. I just wanted to offer very brief remarks today on Earth Day as the chair of the Committee on the Environment. And I wanted to thank my colleagues for their support of all the resolutions we offered in honor of Earth Day, but also recognizing the hard work many Philadelphians do each and every day to celebrate and sustain our Earth and advocate for creating a climate resilient, sustainable, environmentally just Philadelphia. So as a city, we have significant goals ahead of us, including carbon neutral by 2050, zero waste by 2030, Vision Zero by 2030, and the new transit plan we released. These are all major goals and they are important, and we can't achieve them alone. We will need support from the state and federal government, which we hope is coming in the American Jobs Plan, but we will also need to continue to elevate these issues to be central to our work. Addressing climate change needs to become a core part of what every part of our city government does. And I will continue advocating for this work in this body and working very closely with the administration and my colleagues in the Committee on the Environment to create policy solutions that will bring us closer to these goals. Additionally, Mr. President, I wanted to thank the members of our environmental committee subgroups, too many to name, over 100, but we have listed them on our social media today. So I'll just thank the 7 subgroups of air quality, energy, green economy, green space, transportation, waste, and water. And we have been meeting with over 101 groups every month this past year. And their work has really been the impetus of most of the legislation we have put forth this year. And while we recognize it's been a very challenging year, and I recognize we're facing additional challenges ahead, I am urging all of us to continue to think innovatively about how we can use cross-cutting solutions to address many of these issues together. So thank you, Mr. President, and happy Earth Day, Philadelphia. And thank you so much, Councilmember Jones, to the Lowe's of Parkside, who is giving out trees today, along with all the Lowe's across the country. And we'll be picking up our tree later this afternoon to plant it here in the city of Philadelphia to help us with our tree canopy and the urban heat island impact that we are seeing in predominantly Black and brown communities. So thank you very, very much, Mr. President, and thank you all. Happy Earth Day.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. As we look through these trying times and understanding that, sometimes people lose faith in our elected officials or the media, maybe there's this opportunity now that we could see that responsibility, accountability, and justice is possible if we all work together and push people to do the right thing. And I think saying that, we and City Council had held hearings about standardized testing in schools and the concerns we had. And when I first approached the subject, it was not a popular conversation to have with some of the people in the school district. But we have the PSSAs, the Keystone exams, the NOCTI for CTE students, Access for English learners. Are they good tools to measure academic growth? People have concerns. Some say that it's a good way to determine whether or not students are learning or learning at proper rate. Others point that, standardized tests are more of a measure of your economic status and that there's narrowed the curriculum so that so much time is spent teaching to the test. Still others say that it widens the educational gap between the haves and has-nots by separating them into selective schools. Whatever the beliefs are in standardized tests under the normal circumstances, I think we all could agree that last year has not been a normal one for our students here in the city of Philadelphia. I support the idea of students returning safely to our classrooms. We hope that we can joyfully reunite with the teachers and friends. It should be a time where students reacclimate themselves to learning in person, and it should be a time to celebrate some degree of normalcy and to begin, but to isolate that we had in last year and hopefully put that behind us. But the state and the school district have decided or seem to decide, and I'm trying to figure out, that the PSSA is more important, that our kids will spend time in the next 2 weeks in-person learning, sitting alone, taking a test. I think we as council, when we had our hearings, when I called for the hearings several years ago, really stepped up and say that, in this moment to prioritize, testing over the needs of the students is a challenge. We have a very short time this year to be in school. And this is, we know that the emotional and educational health of our children are so important. I urge the district and the state to take the past for this year's for the PSSA, Keystones this spring, and let's give the children some grace and some time to get back to educating and learning in a proper manner after this tough year. So if we see that they're going to continue to push for these type of testing with our students, I think it's time to have another hearing and bring them in to discuss these challenges. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. I believe it appears that is all the speeches for today on behalf of the minority and the majority. And with that being the case, I'm going to recognize Councilman Jones for a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that council stand adjourned until Thursday, April 29th, 2021 at 10 a.m.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Council stand adjourned until Thursday, April 29th, 2021 at 10 a.m. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you all very much. And again, be safe.
Thank you.